I'm gonna sneeze. Hi everyone, welcome back to Curing My Stage Fright. I'm Julie, and in today's episode, I sat down with my friend, improviser, author, science writer, cheese club founder, Will Keever. It was a lot of fun to do this episode, and you will have a lot of fun listening to it, so do it. Just go do it. Or I guess just do what you're doing right now, and don't stop doing that. And you will have done that. All right. I'll see you on the other side. I'm really scared that I'm not video recording. I know that I am. This is very unprofessional of me.
Should we check the stove?
I'm going to check the stove. Okay, I can't even get into that right now. I'm checking, make sure the door's locked. I'm going to just kind of approach. Hi, everyone.
Yeah,
I'm still
we're here. Hello.
We're still here, and we are recording. Yay.
We are recording.
Okay, so everything's fine. It's fine. Okay, so let me walk through how do I word this? Utica, New York.
Yeah.
Right?
Around there.
What's going on there?
Well, there's actually quite a bit. They got a Jackson Pollock up there, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
And everybody in the town just goes and looks at it?
Well, Pratt in New York, there's a Pratt Institute up in Utica.
No way.
Actually. Yeah.
Oh.
So there's like a really wonderful artist community up there. And I was not a part of that at all growing up.
That was going to be my next question.
No, I grew up in a family of science and medicine. My father was a doctor, and he owned a small family practice with my mom, who's a nurse practitioner. And she came from a family of medicine and engineers. He came from a family of medicine. And that was the expectation growing up, was to study biology and be a doctor or a PA or a nurse. And I did none of those things.
Well, you studied biology, right?
I did.
So you got like biology. A third of the way there.
Yeah.
And then you decided, F you, mom and dad, I'm a writer. And then now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
They're still confused on that, I would say. But they're open to having a child. Let's put it this way: my sister's a doctor, so like they're set.
They got
the
one.
Next generation is like all set. The streak continues for the Dr. Keevers in America.
Okay, that's excellent.
Yeah, they're happy, and yeah.
Okay, but did you study science in college because that was solely because that was the expectation of your family? Like, did you have a creative inclination from a young age growing up in an artless household?
Yes, I believed every creative opportunity that I had when I was a kid, I really enjoyed, but I just never really paid attention to them because I felt like I had to be a doctor growing up the whole time.
Wow.
And so I remember, I think my first time even being on stage was in second grade. And we had this thing growing up called Odyssey of the Mind, called it OM for short. And it was just like this regional play that you could sign up with your friends for and do in a competition. And I was a panda bear. And the play was like, we had a genie, and someone was asking for wishes. But, the trick there was like they would ask for a wish, but something would happen that they didn't intend. And so their father's front lawn was full of bamboo, and they were like, we need all the bamboo gone. And then they realized, oh my gosh, if we have a genie wish away all the bamboo, all the pandas are gonna die. So I played a dying panda. Yeah. And it was great though, because at the end I got to have my one line, which was, it was actually a copied line from Toy Story. You have saved our lives. We're eternally grateful.
Wow.
And since then, I've been looking from afar and wondering, that looked really fun. I always wanted to get back into that.
That's funny. Since then, you've been craving the spotlight.
Since then, yes, craving the spotlight.
Do you remember
but
being very nervous as a seventh grade or a 7-year-old to be a panda?
No, I think that I think I got nervous as we were getting older. I felt that there was there was the kids that had did the play since they were kids, and I never did the play really. I did the play in 6th grade. I was like stage crew because they needed another person to like move. It was like 2 props. It was like a pillar and like an arch, and they were like, "Well, can you move the arch from here to there at this time?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think I can do that." And other than that, I wasn't involved in any plays. I didn't really have any singing talents, no drawing or painting, not even writing.
Really?
Yeah, I started writing a book in 3rd grade with my friend. We would like trade a binder back and forth and be like, okay, you write the next chapter and you write the next chapter.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, and I would say that like I took probably as many writers do, like a 10-year, 20-year hiatus after that. It was actually a 10-year hiatus because I believe I was 9 at the time. And then I didn't write creatively, I feel, until I started writing poetry after I graduated from high school.
Wow. So you knew it was in you somehow. The panda bear and the book between you and your friends, it was all like culminating in something, but you didn't know what it was.
I also had a really amazing English teacher in high school. She was just this amazing person that would take people aside, and she would, really like tell them like, how their writing was. She would give critiques and things like that. She was always open to having like varied discussions. We talked about religion in that class so much. It was unbelievable because we had I grew up in a class, we had 54 kids in our graduating class, about 3,000 people in the town. Like in the wintertime, people would drive their snowmobiles to school. It was
nice.
A small town. Like when we got our licenses, the biggest thing we could think of that was like the most exciting was we would play car tag on the back roads. Like it was, it was a small school. So like we had kids that were very into the church, and we had kids that whose parents were professors at the local university. And so there was like a lot of, a high degree variation of white people, I would say, in that community, And so all the topics would, vary, and she allowed all of them to come in. And I was always very grateful for Nan Washburn.
Nan Washburn. Shout out
to Nan Washburn.
Do you think, is she living?
She's still living.
Oh, good. Oh, yeah. Great. Well, I hope she sees this.
Yeah.
Then. I think that's a good English teacher can really make or break that for a kid. I was like, when I was a kid, I feel like I had an opposite journey to you, where I was like, everybody when I was a little kid was like, you're gonna be a writer. I was very accelerated reading when I was like little, and I liked writing, and I was like good at writing, for I guess as good as a 7-year-old could be. And like it was all like, you're gonna be a writer, you're gonna be a writer, blah, blah, in my ear all the time. And then I remember in high school, I had an English teacher who I had like a varying, like, my first English teacher was like fine, and then my next one was like not that good, and then it kind of turned around the last 2 years of high school. But I remember thinking like it really did like break it for me a little bit, where I was like, I don't know if I want to be a writer, because this teacher is just like making me feel like trash about, not just like critical of my own things, but like I was like, is this what, like, at the time it was like, oh, well, you could be an English teacher if you like writing. If you're a writer, the way you make money is to teach English. I was like, I don't want to do that if that's what I'm going to become. But, and then I kind of like, not that I don't enjoy writing now, but I definitely am not like, you are like a poet and you write poems. And I feel like for a time in my life, I was like, that's going to be me. I'm going to be a poet. And now I'm like, not that I don't care about poetry. I just can't see myself doing that. I'm like, I just want to write comedy stuff and not take myself seriously. So it's interesting.
Can I tell you a secret?
Yeah.
I haven't written a poem in maybe about a year now.
What?
Yeah.
But you were just here at my house last week reading poetry.
I was, yeah. That was some work that I created, a book of poems. It was probably a culmination of about 7 years of work.
Okay.
And I finished it last year, and I put down the pen and I was like, I can't look at this anymore. It's just so, it was like so potent. It was like touching like a hot stove in a way. It was just like, I need this to cool down. I need I need to sort of broaden my mind more. I need to laugh.
Yes.
And I think that's, we met through improv. Great improv over here, by the way.
Likewise.
Julie.
Thank you.
And I have to say that like it was just such a wonderful experience to be surrounded by people that were all there for the intention to just laugh themselves and to get other people to laugh. It's truly a therapeutic exercise.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's so fun. And I think a lot of people in our class especially were like, I'm just doing this for fun, or like I have like a boring job that I don't like and I need like to break up the monotony. It's like it really is so helpful for just like getting out of your head, which is why I like it. But did you, when you started writing at age 19, as I talk to you, I'm going to just make sure that my laptop is still recording because sometimes it does this. And now that there's a video element, I feel more self-conscious than usual about the experience of checking this because I don't know how to edit video quite yet, and it's fine. So when you were
working.
Great, and obviously it is. I don't know why I thought it wasn't, but
gotta check the stove.
You gotta check the stove. Yeah. Anyway, when you were 19, what came over you to start writing?
2 friends I was with. They were talented creatives, and we all just started writing together. And I started writing poetry. And so were the other 2, and it was just like really fun and potent. And ever since then I was like, oh, like I want to like keep doing this. This would be fun. And I have to say that like I loved the work that I did that like culminated over 7 years, and the work that I shared. I think the most unfortunate thing is that I took it too seriously, and that like I feel like there should be an undertone of laughter in all writing in a way, even if it's like, or I guess like I took it too seriously. I didn't differentiate that from taking it sincerely. I feel like there's a big difference between taking things seriously and sincerely.
Yes.
And I was too much like, this needs to be like potent, like from the soul, things from me, words, bah!
Yeah.
And it turned out great. I love my work, but it's just
it turned out great.
It's just really like oh God, it's just very it's hot to touch. There's a lot of things involved in it that are just they involve a lot of death and a lot of wonderings about death, and a lot of world events and a lot of anxieties around these big topics, and not so much the lightness of those big topics.
Yeah, totally. I think that was what like turned me off from like writing poetry when I was like in high school, and I was kind of trying to do it a lot. I just like had a hard time. I was also kind of having a hard time taking myself seriously, which I think is why I like gravitated to comedy, where I would like write something and I'd be like, have you ever done this where you're like, this is gonna make me sound like an asshole, like this could be good if it were written by somebody who was already established as a famous poet, but since it's just me and I'm 17, this is garbage. But then it's like, well, what makes a poem good? Do you have to be established and have a name to be like, how there's like, I feel like there's like satire about this all the time, or like modern art gets big criticism for this because it's like, there are a lot of people. I was just arguing with somebody the other day about like, oh, I could make a Jackson Pollock, and I was like, no, you can't. But also maybe you could. I don't know.
Yeah.
I grew up in a very pro art household. My mom's a painter, and so I understand that not anybody can just like throw shit at a canvas and have it like be really good. But like, who determines that? Maybe somebody out there is like splattering paint and cigarette ashes into a canvas to prove that it's easy to do, and it is brilliant, but we wouldn't think it's brilliant because it's not like an established name. Whereas like I feel like there are poets who could write like like Ezra Pound is a poet who I like, and he writes like really short poems. And it's like, oh, I could write a short line, but I'd be so critical and I'd be like, this is dumb, this is stupid. But I could read a poem by somebody who's like notable and be like, wow, that's very introspective. And like, I was just like getting so caught up in that whole thing. And I was like, I don't want to be dramatic and serious. I want to be like fun and funny. And
Yes.
so I don't know. That was for me the thing. There was a disconnect with that, I think.
Yes.
And I still appreciate serious poetry. Like, you came the other day, I had this reading at my house, which I will hopefully do more of for anybody.
Corner right there.
In that corner right there. You can't see it, listener, because you can't see anything, and viewer, you can't see it because it's cut off. But there was a corner and there was a stage, and I had a guy who was very funny. Shout out Jack McGovern, great funny guy.
Jack. That was,
he was
really
so good. Super funny character writing of this like entrepreneur, just like really good, like commenting on like the pursuit of wealth and like all this sadness that comes with that. But also he was like reading to like this Guido pump up mix. It was really, it's hard to describe, but he was so funny. And we had you, and you were a little more somber and vulnerable. And then Ani, my friend, another shout out to her, super funny.
Out, Ani.
But like a little more subdued, like almost like more satirical. Like that's the type of stuff that I can really appreciate. Like that's why I love Kurt Vonnegut so much, is because I think that he's like funny, but he's dry. I think there's like you were saying, it's like you can be sincere and it can waver. Sincerity can waver between being like dry, but it's funny, and then like not funny at all, and then funny as long as you're being, this is the improv thing too, is like, you're not trying to be funny, you're trying to be honest within the circumstances. And if you have funny circumstances and you're being honest within them, then you're going to be funny. Like improv is not about trying to be funny, it's about being honest, which I think is amazing. I think that that's one of the best things that I learned about it. And that kind of speaks to your point about like seriousness versus sincerity versus all these other buzzwords. Yeah.
I think one of the craziest things about Kurt Vonnegut is I feel like he almost didn't have a choice to become like the king of black humor, or the ruler of black humor in a way, because he survived the bombing of Dresden, which killed the firebombing of Dresden, which the Allies did, and it killed hundreds of thousands of people. And the only reason he survived it was because he stuffed himself inside of a meat locker in a slaughterhouse.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you can't make that stuff up.
Right.
And he had to clean up bodies for weeks afterwards thinking about that fact.
And like, how do you cope with something like that? Like, this is the thing of like, I don't remember who said it, but it's like humor equals tragedy plus time or whatever. Like, yeah, I think that humor is a coping mechanism for sure. That's why like self-deprecation is a thing, because it's like, oh, if I laugh at myself, nobody can laugh at me. And also if I laugh at myself, I can cope with whatever bad thing happens. Like, that's a big part of it for sure too. And so I think that humor helps us all like cope with very poignant things, like reading about war through this guy's eyes. It's like, oh, this is funny, but it's really elevating for me how terrible this experience must have been. And it's like, yeah, I don't know, it just makes you feel a little deeper. You're reading something super sad and grotesque, and then something unexpected happens and you laugh and you're like, wow, I'm feeling so many feelings. And I don't know. Yeah,
it's very strange. So there's this joke that I guess it's an Irish joke that I think about a lot, because I find it funny, but other people probably don't find it funny, but other people probably do find it funny. It's a man reaches over to kiss the Blarney Stone, falls down and cracks his skull. And that's the joke.
Yeah, I'm sure Irish people love that, because the Irish people that I know are also, it's like, I feel like that's a staple of Irish culture, is dark humor and wit, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I feel they have endured a lot due to empires over history, and I feel that it does create a sense of just like, I guess, like timeless humor in a way, or generational black humor.
Yeah.
Humor is a strange thing. I feel like I think about the time when we were in class and our teacher Taylor was having us all stretch in the middle in a circle, and we were all talking about our experiences that week. And I had a really crazy week that week. I had a friend who
died unexpectedly,
and I had to go to another friend's wedding, and then to his wake the next day. And I was also seeing shows in the middle of that week. And I was just like, Taylor, like, how do you feel about like how do you joke about stuff that's like really serious and like crazy, and like when the world is just feeling really chaotic, like how do you find the jokes in it? And he just looked at me and he goes, that's the stuff. Like that's the stuff that we all relate to. Like we all can see that it's really wild and beautiful and chaotic and just a crazy beautiful mess that we're living in, and we're all trying to find a rhythm some way. And I think that's why we all look to laugh.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it is funny to think about having to go to a wedding and a funeral subsequently right after the other.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's just silly. That's so silly to have to do that and to have to put yourself through that. Like, and yet that's just like, here we are living through it. Like, it's like, we can't, like you said before, you can't make this stuff up sometimes. I'm looking at my levels, which you all can see now with the video on.
I was a big Monty Python fan growing up, and it reminds me of, I think it was Meaning of Life or Life of Brian, one of their movies, and it's at the end when it's the three cast members and they're being crucified, and one of them's crying and the other one goes, cheer up, old bugger, like, always look on the bright side of life. And it's just a line of people all on crucifixes singing the song, always look at the bright side of life.
I just saw that recently. That's the only Monty Python thing I've seen, and I just saw it over the summer.
What'd you think?
It was great. It was funny.
Yeah.
Happy to understand the reference too.
I feel like that type of humor is sticking around.
Yeah.
I feel like it was pretty well rounded and like sharp and, aware enough where like that kind of humor is sticking around.
That's the other thing too, is that like, yeah, timeless humor is like, it's timeless for a reason, because there are some things in life that presumably are relatable to everyone, no matter what timeline you're on.
Physical humor.
Yeah.
Like you bop a like mouse with a hammer, or you bop a cat with a hammer from a mouse. Yeah. Like kids, adults, geriatrics, everyone's going to laugh at that.
Everyone's going to laugh at that. Everyone's going to laugh at that. I have a video of my dad using my, so my grandma years ago had like a little wheelchair, and it was like one of those like wheelchair walker convertible things. And I have a series of videos of my dad sitting in it. First he's sitting in it and he's like, I'm going to flip this thing over. And he goes backwards and he brakes and he kind of knocks back a little bit. And then he laughs. And then in the third one, it's him falling over completely. And he's laughing the whole time. And I'm like, you're also old. You can't be doing this. And my grandma in the background is like, don't do that. And she's like 95, doesn't know what's going on. So funny.
Yeah,
watching a 70-year-old guy fall over in a wheelchair on his own accord. So funny.
And then his mother laughing at him.
Yes, exactly. And in 50 years, I can show that to somebody and they're going to be like, that's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah.
It's just so funny.
Do you think it has to do with the fact that like we all... Okay. I don't know.
Say it. Make a generalization.
All right. We all have bodies, and we all know how like awkward we feel in our bodies, and like how like I could see myself balancing in a wheelchair being like, that would feel awkward, that would feel strange, and watching someone doing that, I can relate to that person in a way. Okay. And maybe that's why physical humor is so funny, because when you see someone steps on a rake and it goes right into their face, like you feel that. You're like, oh.
I think that's it. I think it's because you feel that pain and you're like, oh no, like, or like that was dumb and I'm laughing at the consequence of your action because now you're feeling pain and I don't feel bad for you because
and I don't feel
the
pain, so it's funny for me.
Yeah, it might be something like that. I think you're onto something. I'm sure there's research papers on it.
Sure. Oh, yeah. I wonder. There has to be like a whole vault of like science on humor. Yeah. Why don't we have that like more readily available? Like, why are we learning about drone strikes when we should be learning about that?
I think that's fair. I don't know if my brain would be able to comprehend science on. I guess if it was about humor, I would find a way to comprehend it. But science, my brain and science lately have not been going great.
Well, I feel like one of the hardest things about science is that it's a very insular place because scientists have their own language in a way. I studied science writing for a little while because my whole objective was to read really complex papers and be able to break them down into a way that like a musician or a doctor could read.
Yeah.
And they wanted to learn about geology or something like that. It's like these really complex subjects aren't able to be translated all the time just because like I wonder if there's just like not enough people that are able to like translate those things. They're not getting paid. When was the last time you saw like a freelance writer that was like making $200,000 a year? Like there's not many of those.
Yeah.
But I think that science is really a world that just needs to have more spotlight on it to sort of like make it feel its own humility a little more. I think that like one of my favorite talks actually was this paleontologist. I can't remember his name. I think it was Jack Horner. And he started off his talk being like, here's the thing that you need to understand. Scientists, like all of us, have egos. And so dinosaur scientists, paleontologists, when they dig up some bones in the ground, if they don't see any other bones that are like that bone, they're going to name it. And so he went through this whole thing about saying like how we have these 21 main classes of dinosaurs in the world, and nobody was cutting into their bones to like figure out where are all the baby dinosaurs. And so what he did, because he has his own dinosaur museum because he's dug up that many dinosaurs, is that he started cutting into the bones, and he realized that dinosaurs grow like birds through a way called ontogeny. And ontogeny means is that they like have these like very like they look very different from when they're a baby until when they're an adult. So like something like a Styracosaurus, which is like it looks like a triceratops except it has one big horn on its nose and a bunch of spikes on like its back, sort of like if you had like a plate on the back of your neck. And then the Triceratops, an adult Triceratops, had 3 horns and not really any spikes. And that was because of the way that it grew. All of those spikes on its plate shrank over time, and it grew 2 extra horns out of its face. And nobody really thought of that. They thought that Styracosaurus was just its own thing when it was actually just a baby Triceratops. And they did this for they cut, I think it was 21 different species, main character species of dinosaurs. They cut it down to 8.
Wow.
And it's just, I think about that all the time because it just puts into perspective that I feel like we have this, respect for scientists. They're they know what they're doing. They're scientists. They use logic when in fact they're humans just like us.
Right. And they're learning things constantly too, just like us. And we have to kind of trust them as the authorities to teach us stuff, but also it's like a living thing, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's tough when such a important thing is beholden to an institution, and that institution is the thing that's making those things happen. Because I know so many wonderful, beautiful scientists that are, flautists and pianists and painters that are also studying morphology and microbiology and all these wonderful things, but they're just individuals, and it's hard when you have a large group of people saying that that are anti-science or things like that. It's what are you saying? What does that mean?
Right. That's when I see ads and it'll be for a vitamin subscription service and it'll be backed by science. I'm science means nothing. That could mean a myriad of things. So that I don't trust you because you're just using a buzzword to sell me something, which is crazy. But before we move back into the more creative conversation, I have a question I need you to answer to the best of your ability. Did chickens evolve from dinosaurs?
Yes.
Thank you. That's all I needed.
The closest relative to a chicken is a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Okay. I'm trying to settle a years-long chicken or egg argument.
It was the chicken or the T-Rex.
Yeah, and it just came from...
And it was the T-Rex before the chicken.
Yes. Okay. That's I feel like a
I could
giant
go
weight has been
into
lifted.
yeah, I could go into a whole other thing about chickens
I
and
believe
dinosaurs.
it. I believe
but
it.
We're gonna table that conversation.
Let's table that.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to weigh in out there who perhaps disagrees with that,
come at me.
shout out my college roommate and wonderful friend Megan Doherty. We had a very extensive conversation about this years ago.
Shout out Megan.
Shout out Megan. Sorry, I was right the whole time. Have you ever been in the middle of listening to an episode of Curing My Stage Fright and thought, I wonder what the host, Julie Keefe, is wearing? Not like that, you weirdo. I mean, like, have you ever wondered, is she fashionable? Does she wear cool accessories and monochromatic outfits? The answer to these questions is, of course, yes. But this may now lead you to a separate question, which is, okay, how can I confirm that she's fashionable? Well, by going to the Curing My Stage Fright YouTube channel, of course. You can now watch videos of the locally renowned podcast in the highest quality that the iPhone 12 mini can provide. So what are you waiting for? Finish listening to this episode and then go watch the exact same episode over on YouTube. I can't think of a better use of your time. Can you? Going back, I guess, so you start writing poetry when you're 19 and you're like, I like this is cool, and you're serious about it. Was there an intention of sharing? Was there an intention of doing any sort of like poetry slam, open mic, publishing situation, or was it just like a fun thing for you to do with your friends?
It was a fun thing for me to do, for me to understand myself, to share it with my friends. I did share some of it. We had like a talent show, and I shared some poetry, which was really lovely. And I would say that that's kind of like where it stayed for a while.
Yeah.
I think that like the next phase that happened was I was writing poetry, and then I went on a very large road trip when I was 22 or 23. And I journaled every single day.
Wow.
And it really just, I was just like, oh, I really like this. And then at the end of the journey, I made a big blog where I included a lot of photos of the journey, and it just like really got my gears turning. And then that was the first thought where I was like, oh, I should write a book.
Yeah.
And then spent the next 5 years just taking myself way too seriously, saying that I'm a writer now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you are a writer.
Yeah.
And that doesn't have to be like this, like, oh, I'm like, yeah, rolling my eyes.
It became that thing though. And I feel foolish, but also at the same time, I feel like we all have to go through, like, we have to be humiliated by the world in a way to sort of like understand who we are.
Yeah.
It's very strange. Like when you try to take on the world, I feel like the world will win. And
right. Yes. all of the time. When did, like, can you pinpoint a time of humiliation where you were like, I'm over this, I don't want to be a writer anymore, or like, I don't want to take myself so seriously anymore?
Yeah. I would say after I finished writing my book, after the first time I thought I finished writing my book,
Okay.
I was like, you know what? I'm done with this job that I have. It actually was a really bad job, and they were not very nice to me. I was a medical marijuana extraction technician in Lake George, New York.
Okay.
And it was a really, like, it was a solid job, but they just weren't very nice to me, and I wasn't very nice to them. And
so then nobody was happy.
So nobody was happy, and I had to take myself out of the situation. So I was like, I'm moving to New York. And I moved down to New York, and I wanted to find a community down there. The thing was, I just felt like I had this whole thing where I was meditating every day. I was, the world without is a reflection of the world within. I had all these things. I'm coming down from the mountains into the big city. I had this whole inner story that was just getting peddled to me through all of these philosophers that I was reading. They were just like, yeah, eat it. Yeah, eat my shit. And I'm like, yeah, I am. And it was just this whole thing for a while. And I just got fed up with it. It was really crazy because I got... after I really started to get up in the mornings, I would get up at like 4:30 in the morning. I would write.
Oh my God.
I would have my coffee. I would go for a run. And I started getting tension headaches, which feels like a rubber band is wrapped around the top of your head.
Yeah.
And they just never went away.
Oh.
Unfortunately.
Still right now?
Still have them right now.
Oh.
I don't think about them, but they started then. And I thought I was doing all these positive things for myself, but I was actually just really stressing my body out to a point that it didn't even need to go to.
Right.
I was putting all of this external pressure on me to be a writer, to be like unique in my family because I'm the only one with a creative bone in my body, which is not true at all. My entire family are comedic geniuses.
Yeah.
And I just was too into my own journey to really see any of that. And so I tripped and fell a lot on the way down to New York. And while I got into New York, I was tripping and falling all over the place, and a lot of self-doubt came up. I went on and off medication. I gained and lost weight. I just did a lot of like things that I just didn't have to do to myself because I felt that I needed to push myself. I needed to grind. I needed to like produce.
Yep.
And it really messed me up for a little bit.
Yeah. It sounds like it. It sounds like it's funny because that's totally like something that you do if you need to think you're fitting into a certain lifestyle. It's like if I want to be serious as a writer, of course I need to wake up and meditate at 4:30 every day, because I remember I dated a guy one time who was like very big, like also very serious, like, which also is part of why I was like, well, I'm over this, you know, of like, I don't need to
you just fucking laugh,
succumb
buddy.
to this. Yeah, it's like, and he was like, you know, 5 a.m. is like the golden hour of every day. That's when you have peak creativity. And I was like, I'm never waking. If I could, I wouldn't wake up before 10 a.m. I have to wake up earlier for my job, and I'm late to my job every day because I really struggle to wake up. Like,
Because you're probably having dope dreams.
yeah, I'm having great dreams. I don't want to be out of my bed. I want to keep dreaming about fun things. But I think that like I like thought about that, and I was like, wow, maybe he's onto something. And maybe, yeah, like there are so many people who have their routines set, and it's all about like waking up in the morning when it's quiet and nobody's around, and journaling and meditating and doing headstands and making your mushroom powder coffee and whatever. And it's like, you can also just like be good at something or enjoy doing something and not like, you don't have to change your whole life and give yourself headaches to like fit into a lifestyle. And I think that that's a big like learning point for people. I'm sure I had gone through something similar. I can't think of it right now, but it's like just trying to be like, this person's really good at this thing and they do this, I want to be like that. Or this group of people all do this thing and I want to like change my lifestyle to be like this so that I can achieve this. And it's like, or I can be considered a part of this group. It's like, well, maybe it's not a group worth joining.
Yeah.
If you have to change your entire lifestyle to fit into it.
It's strange, but I feel after all of this that I've put myself through, I finally feel that I'm really grown in a way, because I've been working on this story for about a year now, and I've written a little bit, but I've thought a lot about it, and it's been feeling really good.
That's great.
And I don't put pressure on myself to be like, you got to write tonight. Like it's not there. I don't want that, because I know that when the bursts come, that they're quality, that I know that I'm in it. And I feel like right now that is what my body needs right now, is for you to enjoy writing. Yeah. Because earlier when you were like, you enjoy writing, I was like, I don't know. But like, I'm finally back in that place where I'm enjoying it. Yeah. And what's helping a lot is improv, taking my first bout at stand-up comedy this past week. And like just doing things that are like outside of, you know, just being creative and being spontaneous and showing up. Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing, is just showing up and being open and observing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like, pushing yourself to like be performing and being in all these groups of wacky creative people is super helpful for that.
I think it's great to have great friends too.
Yeah, we've made really good friends.
Yeah.
And I'm so like, I don't know, I'm still reeling in that. Moving to New York, after 5 months, I feel like I finally have like an actual solid group of friends. And then I make more friends every time I go to like an improv thing. There's just more people, and I'm like, you're my friend now.
Yeah.
And it's nice.
It's like, can we be friends? Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
let's actually be friends.
It's amazing. Just for the viewers, we did this improv level 1 class. There were 13 of us, and basically we just put it out to the group like, do you guys all want to be friends? We all started a group chat, and everyone was like, yeah, we do. And that was what, like 3 months ago?
3 months ago, probably.
And still, like, we're chatting every single day in that group chat.
And everybody's involved.
Everyone.
There's not like one person who's like, I don't think anyway, who's like, I actually don't want to be in this at all, and I don't want to have this discourse with anybody. It's like everybody's just like, what's going on tonight?
Yeah,
and like
it's
there's
so
always
exciting.
something going on, and it's so nice, and it's really good. It's really encouraging. The stand-up thing, like, so I want to hear about your experience, because I did stand up a little bit in New Jersey. I've made it a goal to do it here, and I haven't done it yet because I've been so scared, and I keep saying, oh, I'm busy, I know I'm focusing on improv. I'm just like, I'm scared.
Can you tell me about your stand-up experience in New Jersey?
It was fine. It was scary. I mean,
did you prepare for it? Like, did you write for it?
Oh yeah, yes.
You had a bit nailed down?
Yeah, I had a whole thing nailed down. I did a lot of like voice memo preparation for it, which is what I tend to do when I'm like,
what's that?
So like, well, it's just me driving to the venue, talking into my voice recording about like doing my set. Like, I really don't want to look at notes. I want to try to treat it as much like a performance as I can when I'm doing open mics. Even though it is an open mic and it's like, oh, it shouldn't matter. I want to try to treat every improv jam is a performance. Every open mic is a performance. I want to like take it seriously. Which I know is not how everybody prepares for these things. But like, I would like have my phone, I'd be driving and I'd have my phone, and for whatever reason, having like the pressure of like the phone listening to me kind of makes me like, if I were sitting by myself in my car just talking to myself, I would just stop and be like, okay, that sounds fine, I don't need to keep going. But like the pressure of the voice recording feels like another person. So I would like voice record myself doing my set, and then I'd get there and I'd have my little notebook just in case. I always write physically, no phone. I don't like looking at my phone. Everybody else you can look at your phone. I don't care. I'm not going to judge you. But I like the analog of it all. So if I needed to look at notes, I'd try to write them down. And then I would put my name on the list, and I'd be really scared the whole time, and then I'd do it, and then I'd feel good about myself even if it didn't go super well. But like, it's scary. For some reason, it's like improv is getting less scary, which is great. I'm curing my stage fright.
Whoa!
Dare I say it? But like, stand-up is still really daunting to me. And so hearing you say the other day you went to an open mic and it felt like a workshop because it was like all comedians there, that makes me feel I'm still gonna take it so seriously. But that feels nice, and I want to know your experience of that and your nervousness of how did you feel doing stand-up? Was it more scary, less scary than improv or reading poetry, or what?
I think that I think it was like a different type of stage fright, but definitely in the same realm. Mm-hmm. I would say like, I guess that there's like different little types of stage fright for like open mics for poetry, improv, and stuff like that. Yeah. That I get, but that's just me.
Do you have nervousness when you do improv? Because you're like a loud guy.
That's
like,
how I cure my nervousness, is by being loud.
That's crazy. Because you're like, I feel like if I like just encountered you in like in a coffee shop or something, I'd be like, this guy's like just an introvert on his lap doing whatever he's doing on his laptop or whatever. And then you're up there and you're like this like very big presence, and it's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know how. I think I just don't think on stage, and that's how I get through the nervousness. And I think being loud allows me to sort of like speak to the voice inside of me that's like, it's okay, like we can be loud, like it's fine. Yeah. And I think that's where the quote unquote presence comes from, is just me talking to myself, psyching myself up. Mm-hmm. Like, it's okay. Like, we can just do whatever we want up here. They actually, like, they pay people to do this up here. And it's like, wow, what a world, huh?
Yeah, that's nice that you have that part of yourself that can also be unlocked. Like, I feel like there are times when I want to be loud, And I'm like, oh, I can't. I'm like still, because it's like I'm still in my head. Getting out of my head is very helpful for that. The other night I felt really good. I was like kind of like projecting my voice way more than I ever have, because I was trying to stay in the sincerity of the scene, you know. So I'm thinking I'll get there.
Did you have loud people in your upbringing anywhere, like friends, family, anything like that?
Yeah.
Do you feel like it like made you want to be loud, or were you like they're the loud one, I'll be?
I think that the loudness that occurred in my family never did anybody any favors.
Yeah, I
was like,
I
don't need to be, I don't need to contribute to whatever this is. I'm scared of this, or I don't want to be involved in this. I had my acting teacher the other night in class said something interesting to somebody else. But the feedback I get constantly is that you've got a lot going on in there, and you can't let it in. It's not good. Or you can't keep it in. It's not good for you. And my whole thing across the board is like, the other night in my class, I was doing a scene, this Will and Grace scene with my scene partner. And before my scene partner entered, my acting coach was like, can you just open the backstage door and scream? And I was like, I don't know if any sound is going to come out. And I really didn't. I truly had no idea, because I was like, I don't scream. I just don't. That's too loud. And then I did it, and then he was like, okay, now go open the other one and do it again. And I did, and I was like mad that I had to do it, and I think that like helped the scream. And then I had like a lot of energy in the scene, so it like worked, and that helped me a lot. I think I was like, oh, I screamed and nobody laughed at me. I'm very nervous about getting laughed at all the time. I'm very nervous about like
were you bullied as a kid?
I mean, not like to the point that I was like really bad.
I hate to keep bringing this back to childhood.
No, it's okay. I'm happy to. I unfortunately
as you can tell,
will
I
talk
just checked back into therapy. So like,
oh, well, good for you. Congratulations. I think that like I was like, I don't know, I just didn't want to take up space, and I wasn't like bullied to the point where it was like anybody had to be calling the school, but I was like, you know, I did marching band. I like kind of dressed weird, I think. Like, I don't think I was like a cool kid by any means, but I was also like fine where I was. But like, yeah, I think that, so to go back to the acting thing, screaming was great. Screaming helps. Scream, go scream. Wherever you are, pause this, scream, tune back in. How was it? Was it good? Hopefully it was good.
If it's in like a public place, like just scream afterwards, I'm fine.
Yeah. Do that, and then comment down below how the scream was.
Yeah, let us know.
I'm trying to be engaging. I'm trying to engage listeners. So the other night though, he was talking to somebody else. My acting coach was talking to somebody else on the stage, and he was like, I cannot remember. I know I just hyped it up, and I can't remember the exact verbiage he used, but he said something like, you had to like tone yourself down to whoever was taking up the biggest personality was. So like, which totally resonated with me. He was saying it to some other guy where it was like,
can you repeat that?
Maybe.
Tone yourself down to the biggest personality
in the household, basically what he was saying, which totally hit me, where I was like, oh yeah, like you have this loud presence in your life, or you have this big, like perhaps angry character in your house. It's like, oh, you don't want to, like, you can't go against that. You can't compete with that. So I'm just gonna take myself down and be this kind of more subdued version of myself. When I was in preschool, we're really going deep. It's okay. I've been told to have longer episodes. So that's great.
For context, I had two loud parents. One was loud and cynical. The other was loud and angry.
Okay, nice. That's a great combination. I had a very loud father and a very soft-spoken mother, and they're divorced. Everybody knows that already, and my mom's not going to be mad at me for saying that, because it happened when I was 5.
Fact, they are divorced.
It's a fact. I just feel like she's gonna be like, Julie, why are you talking about whatever? I love her.
My mom's gonna be like, hi, you're on a podcast? What?
Yeah, what is
Let
that?
Let me hear it.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that I don't know. When I was a kid, my theory, I actually have a theory about this, and this is an important theory to the whole crux of the show too, is that when I was in preschool, apparently I had the biggest mouth in the class. Apparently I was loud and I talked all the time, and I was like always talking, and everybody had to tell me to be quiet all the time. I think that what happened is I got told to be quiet so much as a kid that I was like, okay, now I'm going to be really quiet. And then in high school and middle school, I remember I've talked about this on the show for sure before. I like remember distinctly 7th grade science class. I raised my hand to talk, and this kid who I will not name, but I remember his name, he was like, that's like the first time I've ever heard her talk. And I was like, ouch. I didn't say anything. I think I just was like, because what do you say to that? I was like so shy. I retreated so much into myself as a kid, but I had friends. I had like my friend group, and I was like goofy and good with them. But it's like, it really, I don't know what happened. I do think it was like everybody was like, stop talking so much. And I was like, okay, now I'm not going to talk ever until I'm a senior in high school. And then I'm going to be like, oh, actually talking is super fun. And now all I do is talk. All I want to do is talk.
Mm-hmm.
This is why I have a fucking podcast. Thank you.
Yeah.
But like, there's something there with that. And like the nervousness of like, I know I can talk. And so why is it so scary to do it in front of like,
why is it so scary to do it in front of people?
Yeah.
Why do we have stage fright?
Why do we have stage fright? I talked to I made 3 friends yesterday at least, and it's like, that's a new person. But I guess it's because like with stage fright, it's like you're crafting something and you're sharing it, and you're like, if this isn't well received, I'm going to throw myself off the Williamsburg Bridge. Like not really, but like is
as a manner of speaking, throw your metaphysical self off the Williamsburg Bridge.
Exactly, because I'll be so embarrassed. Like if nobody laughs at my jokes that I crafted that I think are funny, I'm gonna be so humiliated because I like took time to do it, and I think it's vulnerable and I think it's funny. But then if I'm having a conversation with somebody and I say something that I think is funny and then it's like doesn't, I guess it's just because the venue is different. Like I'm having a conversation with somebody, that's a conversation, but being on a stage is like the venue is different, and then that's like you're all paying attention to me talking at you.
So I'm going to talk about my stand-up bit.
Yes,
for a minute,
please, because I asked you about it.
I feel that this connects.
Yeah.
So I did stand-up last week, and it was like a room full of like people working on their jokes, comedians, as some would call them, and we all put our names in a hat, and they just called the order.
Was it really a hat, or was it like a bucket?
It was a pitcher. It was a plastic pitcher that you'd see water in sometimes at restaurants.
Thank you.
And so I was second up.
Oh.
And we had a whole group. There was supposed to be like 6 of us there. We had a whole group text.
Yeah, and
I
everybody bailed.
Everyone, I was the only one there.
And everyone was like, good luck, Will. You're going to do great. And I was like, you wimps. Just kidding. But
no, but I was just like, okay, I guess I'm doing it. And I had nothing planned. I had a blank notebook and kind of like a overall plan in my head. And the plan was to basically just like go up there and do like kind of like a clown act, like sort of like do an act where like I had a blank notebook and I was reading from the blank notebook, and then I would put the microphone to the blank notebook, and then I'd put that down and like be like, you ever feel like you're between
crazy.
2 places? And then I'd pull my phone out and read from that for a bit. And it honestly, like, for some reason, I did get some laughs for some reason, but for the most part, it was quiet, and that was okay, because there was this point where I was on stage, it was totally quiet, and I was totally quiet, and I was looking at my blank notebook with the microphone to it, and I realized right there, I was like, oh, they're all waiting for me to do something. Like, oh, like, that's kind of like, that's stage right there in a way. It's just like, you are the sort of like the mobile unit. You are the thought in a way. Like, you're the one that is sort of, generating like what other people are, can like pick up on in a way. It's like everyone's minds are moving, but when you have someone at the center of a stage, like, they are doing their own thing so that those people with moving minds can interact with that person as well. And it's like, it's all a feedback mechanism in a way. And I realized that. And I realized that, like, it's okay to be nervous, but like, if you have something inside of you, like, it's kind of like not your obligation, but it's really important that you share that with people.
Yeah.
And like from there, I was like, okay, I got to start writing stuff, because there is like stuff that I can write that I feel like people could think about and laugh with and talk to me about maybe, or just like go off into their own fucking life and just like not think about it again.
Yeah.
And it's like, great. Like, I am not only like so important to like that moment in a way, but I'm not important at all. I'm just that person on stage at that time.
Right. Right. And it's like, who care? How dare I think that I'm more important than that?
Exactly.
Like, why should I be nervous? Nobody's going to think about me. And if they do think about me, it's probably because like I had a good impact on them. And maybe I had a terrible
Or you
impact
may
on
have a
somebody.
terrible
Right.
impact on
And I guess
them.
that's the fear.
And
is
that's
that
the fear.
It's like you were so bad that I'm going to tell my friends about how laughably and not in a good way bad you were. But I think that's unrealistic.
Would we care about what that person thinks of us in a way? Because it sounds like that person's going through something that they're
Well, I think
throwing
that's the
someone else
problem.
under
And I
the
think that's the
bus.
problem with like any, like with just receiving negative feedback is like you want to be like, well, have you ever considered that maybe they're dealing with something that has nothing to do with you? And it's like, no, I haven't because they're leaving my show mad
because
at me.
they were mean to me.
Yeah, exactly. So that's tough. But that's fair. That's true. There are sometimes I talk to people and I'm like, they're in a bad mood. And it's like, my first thought is like, they hate me. They must be mad at something I did. And I'm like, who cares about me? They're probably upset because they had to sit in traffic all day. Yeah, it's that for sure. But I think that people who are people pleasers are also the people who are really into like getting attention and needing to be validated. And that's where also this whole desire to perform comes from, is like being shy as a kid, but also being like, I really need people to like me. Not even that I need people to like me, but it's like I have a lot to share. Like you were saying, everybody I think has a lot to share, and I think life is meant to be shared and we're supposed to share things with people. That's my philosophy.
I agree.
So like I want to share things, but I also want it to be well received because it's a part of me and I want to be well received and I want attention, and that's why I'm like hosting a freaking podcast and trying to be some sort of actor, improviser, whatever. But it's also because it's fun. Obviously we want to do things because they're fun, but also there's like this deep-seated desire to
share and interact and to sort of maybe that's just the way that like some brains work, is just by speaking out loud and talking about like these things that are going on outside of the world that we sometimes just don't talk about at all. Like when we think about in society, like the like just like I guess the things that like I think about the old boomer mentality of like, you never talk about sex, politics, or religion, or personal income. And I was just like, those are like the things that are running society.
Yeah.
And we just don't talk about those things.
Yeah. That's funny and true. I have a game. We're going to play a game. Is that okay?
Yes.
I'm trying to be more game segment oriented.
Is this like a jigsaw game or is it like a fun game?
Every time you answer wrong, Oakley's going to come bite one of your fingers off. Oh. So you better be careful. I don't know where. Oh, he's ready. He's up there. Wait, I hope that you can see him. I don't know how well I placed the camera.
If you can't see him, he's staring right into the soul whites of my eyes.
He's sharpening his teeth with a little nail file. Okay. Don't look at my computer screen because the answers are on there.
Okay.
Oh wait, this is just the instructions for my interface.
I will look back at Oakley.
Okay.
If you can't see Oakley, he's looking at me, but if you can see him, he's sleeping. It's like Oakley's cat.
Yeah, you don't know until you listen or watch the podcast if he's looking at Will or sleeping.
Precisely.
Okay, good. Okay, so you talked about this a little bit. You worked at a medical marijuana extraction lab. And you also were, and still are, right, a medical marijuana or a marijuana journalist, right? You do that stuff?
I'm on hiatus.
Okay, you're on hiatus, but you have an extensive catalog of journalism pieces that were written specifically for cannabisculture.com according to your website.
Yes.
Can I say your website?
Yes.
wdkeever.com for anybody who wants to check it out. So that's like a topic of interest to you?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so
I find drugs and the way they interact with our society fascinating.
This is very... I like that the sirens are going off as you're saying
like,
that.
Whoa, drugs! We're not talking about drugs!
They were going to answer something else down the street, and they heard you talking about drugs through the open window, and they're turning right around.
I feel like it was like all the people being like, you better not be like Joe Rogan.
Yeah. So, no, but so the game that I have to play with you is... I'm going to read you a name of something and you're going to tell me if it's a title of a poem or a strain of marijuana.
Ooh,
can we do this? Is this an okay game?
Yes.
I don't condone any of this in case I have to say that. I feel like I have to say that as an educator. If you're 21 and over, great. Don't do something stupid.
Pot.
Don't do something stupid and smoke pot when you're 16. I can't get into it right now. Be smart. Be smart. Your brains are still developing. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, the first one that I have for you You're going to tell me, again, it's going to be poetry title or marijuana strain. We have Catfish Frantic.
Poem.
Yes. Do you know who the author is?
Let's go with Dickinson.
No, it's by your boy, B. William Bearhart, who I just learned about today because I texted you, do you have a favorite poet? And you said, yes, I will bring his work.
Damn. Now I feel equally embarrassed.
I'm sorry. I could cut that whole thing if you want.
No, you keep it in there.
Okay, well,
I don't even know why I said equally embarrassed. What am I equalizing my embarrassment to? This is what I do.
Really
this is what I do when I'm embarrassing,
actually.
is I trip over my words and I'm like, what is he saying?
Now
I'm like, ah!
Yeah, even Oakley's embarrassed right now.
Stage fright returned.
He's opened his eyes now.
Yeah, he's staring at me now.
All right, the next one is Catfish.
Catfish?
Yeah.
I feel like that could be both, but we're going to go with weed.
Ding, ding, ding. Weed. Congratulations. You technically did get poem correct, just the author was incorrect.
Yes.
That's fine. All right, the next one we have is called Astral Works.
Astral Works? That sounds like I know it's not a Van Morrison CD, but it's Astral Works. Is it like WERKS?
No.
No. I feel like we're going to do like a little thing that I would do on like multiple choice tests and be like, I bet like it's like we're going to go like true, false, false.
Oh, I knew you were going to think like that.
I bet it's pot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's because I did employ that because I was like, he's going to think that if it's just weed and then a poem, whatever. Okay, well then the next one is Celestial Love.
Celestial Love? That is totally a poem.
Yeah. Do you know who it's by?
I would say that's by Mary Oliver.
No. Ralph Waldo Emerson.
1899.
1899. You don't need to know who they're by. I guess it's just kind of nice.
I also will say that I did not take an English degree anyway. I'll be like, I like this poem. Be like, have you ever read Shakespeare? I'll be like, oh.
That's fair.
That's actually true. I have not read any Shakespeare.
Is that true?
Yeah, I haven't read.
It's worthwhile, I'd say.
That's what I keep hearing.
How did you avoid it during like high school?
I mean, we all did Shakespeare in high school, but we didn't. Did you read it? Like, did you like pull it out and like read it in high school?
Well,
Wow.
like in
you were
class.
so much cooler than me in high school.
I was in English honors in 11th grade, so I'm sorry.
Okay,
British literature.
Okay. Yeah, I really, it's one of those things where like it's a big chink in my armor, but I'm okay with that.
That's great.
I'm okay with being the guy that didn't read Shakespeare.
I don't think
to a certain point. I feel like I'm gonna like look back on this like 3 months later and be like, you need to read some fucking Shakespeare.
It's fine. I think there's a whole thing about how he probably stole from other people anyway. I don't know.
Or he's a collective. Yeah.
Or that's a fascinating. Well, we'll get into that later. Yeah. Okay, Winter Trees.
Winter Trees. That feels like a Robert Frost poem.
Ooh, very close. It is a poem. So it's a title of a book of poetry by Sylvia Plath, but it's also a poem by William Carlos Williams, who wrote the wheelbarrow thing. Imagine your name being William Williams. That's crazy.
I do feel great that I know every single poet that has been mentioned.
That's good.
Yeah.
I also do. I was Googling frantically before this, and I was like, oh, I recognize these.
Yeah.
So I feel like my education didn't completely fail me.
Yeah.
Next we have Wintergreen OG number 44.
Well, that is actually a great poem by my girl Emily Dickinson. I gotta say that those rhymes were okay. It's weed.
Ding ding ding, you were so close, and then you did end up getting it. It is weed. I was really laughing at that one before you got here. The next one is called Dulce de Uva.
Is it Dulce de Uva?
Dulce de Uva.
That's a poem by Roberto Bolaño.
It's weed.
Oh!
What about Dulce et Decorum Est?
Dulce et Decorum Est? That feels like a school like slogan right there. What was your school slogan?
I don't know. We were the Lancers. I don't think we had
a mascot.
Yeah, I know what I know that it's a mascot and a slogan. I don't know if we had one. Probably just like will give you an adequate education if you live in the tri-state area or the tri-county area.
In Latin, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Did you have a Latin school slogan?
We did. I'm really excited to share it. That's why I asked you.
What was it?
Fortitudo ad temptandem.
What does that mean?
The courage to try.
Oh.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
That's about stage fright.
Yeah.
The courage to try.
Yeah.
That's going to be the title of the episode.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Also, I'm really sorry to all the writers that heard my Shakespeare thing and my poet thing and are just like, this motherfucker got us the whole time.
I don't think anybody's going to be mad at you. I would be mad at you, I guess.
I'm terrified.
I have a lot of angry fans.
Yeah.
Okay, is this weed or is this a poem?
Wait, which one? Oh, the Latin one?
Yeah.
I would go with a poem.
It is a poem by Wilfred Owen, or maybe Owens. I read this in high school. I remember I liked it a lot. It's a war poem. The translation is, "It is sweet and right to die for one's country."
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Wasn't that, no, I'm thinking of something else. But yeah, that's a great anti-war poem.
It's a great one. And then finally we have Fire and Ice.
Fire and Ice?
Yeah.
That was a bar, actually, in Lake George that had free pool, and I used to go there on weekdays and play pool there. And Fire and Ice is also the name of an amazing what's his face, there's this great animator, I can't remember his name, Frank Frazzetti, and he made this or he animated this movie back in the 70s called Fire and Ice that I highly recommend people watch. It's really cool. It's like kind of like an adult version of The Black Cauldron or like The Thief and the Cobbler.
Yeah.
It's like very like wild 70s animation, and it's like also like kind of bloody, but like it's really interesting. Really.
Ding ding ding.
Oh, it's
the correct answer was bar and movie.
Oh!
Yay! What do you think? For real?
Fire and Ice. That's a poem all over the place.
It is a poem. It's a Robert Frost poem, very famous. However, it is also a strain of marijuana according to leafly.com, so I would have accepted either.
Ah, yes.
That concludes is it a poem title or a marijuana strain? Thank you for playing. I hope to do
Happy
more
to be
games
here.
in the future. You are gonna take home all of your fingers because Oakley did not have to bite any of them off.
Thank God.
Not yet, anyway.
Well, never know.
You never know.
Yeah.
And I guess, I don't know, that brings us...
Do you think that's why Schrodinger named his whole theory Schrodinger's cat? Because he was afraid of making his cat mad? That his cat, like, he was like, I need to include my cat in this. Or
yeah, or else my cat's gonna... Yeah, I need to think up a scenario in which my cat dies from eating radioactive tuna because I'm so afraid of my cat getting mad at me. That sounds about right.
Sounds like me and my stage fright.
Nice. How are we doing? We're doing great. We probably are at the end, though, because it's been over an hour.
Yeah.
And I'm cutting nothing, mostly because I don't know how to video edit.
Oh, that's fine. I will think about that all night.
Good.
Yes.
Do you have anything going on that you want to point anybody towards?
Well, I actually have two things that are going on. The first thing is February 23rd. I host a cheese club. It happens once a month. If you have any interest, reach out on my Instagram, WD Keever, Keever, at WD Keever, and shoot me a DM, and we'll get you in there. All we do is just eat cheese, but if you're lactose intolerant, like, you just bring your own, like, food. It's just like a nice, like, snacking time to hang out, and we do that once a month. And February 23rd, Friday at 8 p.m., we're having our formal Dressed to the Nine event. We're going to have a DJ. We're going to have a few artists show their work as well. We have some painters, sculptors, poets, people that are just amazing drawers.
Drawers.
Not a drawer, but I feel like a drawer.
A drawer.
Yeah.
Yeah, a
we
drawer.
got some jars as well.
Jars.
And we're gonna have a party. It's gonna be, we're asking for $25 to pay for the space and to pay for the DJ because they're pretty fun. And I would say the other thing is we got an improv show.
We have an improv show March 1st, Friday, March 1st.
Boom.
That'll be fun. Our level 2 class culmination show. We're working our way up.
Very
We're
exciting.
gonna be starting a troupe in no time,
Mhm.
surely.
We do have to do that
We
application.
do have to do that application.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's boring to talk
Yeah.
about. But we do have to do an application. But
Boo.
anyway, we're making moves. Everybody's making moves.
Yep. We're doing stuff.
We're
swear.
doing stuff, and we're curing our stage fright. We're performing. We're getting out there. We're
Yep.
hosting cheese club formal events.
Going to therapy.
We're going to therapy. We're not taking ourselves too seriously.
We're taking ourselves sincerely.
Sincerely. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on, Will.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, as always, for tuning in. I hope you all enjoyed the episode. As always, music is by Sam Levine and art is by Kelly King. All right. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.